Hello, I'm Rebecca of the Garden Gate Flower Company.
And I'm Grace of Grace Alexander Flowers.
And we've come together to create Stuart and Alexander, Gather at the Garden Gate.
A podcast taking you behind the scenes of two gardens, what we've been up to, inside, outside, and out and about. Welcome to episode 8 of season 2 of Stuart and Alexander. Just us talking about our weeks. How's your week's been?
It's been really nice. I feel like I haven't spoken to you for ages, but then think, I don't think haven't done very much. This will be a shortened episode. I'm going to go with a bigger in and no out-outs. What a surprise.
Okay, where do we want to start?
Shall we start with my in? I've got quite an interesting in. I'm quite excited about this in. Yeah. So I think we spoke about it last week, didn't we? Definitely there's an autumnal change that's happening in Cornwall. And I think it was yesterday or the day before yesterday, I saw the first leaves dropping from our poplar trees, which marks literally the start of raking season. And I get so bored because it doesn't matter how much you rake up. There just seems to be so many leaves to come down from these woods, and they all seem to come into our garden, all the gutterings, everything. So it's a really, really big job. But it made me think about just that sudden feeling of, what red wine am I going to drink this autumn? I know. So I've got a mild out, but anyway, it's a bit of a cheap out because it's not really, it doesn't feel very on point. But also lighting the fire. And it's really funny in the same way that I cannot keep houseplants alive in the summer because there's just too much to do outside. I'm now looking at things in my house again. And I don't know whether everyone else has this, but our house is 3 stories, so we didn't, but the attic was converted. So it's our bedroom is right at the very top. And I think I've talked about this on the podcast before, which is if you live in a 3-story house, it's quite easy to ignore the top because 1, the hoover never gets to the top unless you hoover from the top to the bottom because you just run out of steam. And 2, I really feel like we moved into this house coming up for 18 years ago and we did a very minimal amount of decoration up there and then did nothing else. And I've just looked at stuff and I think we talked about that. I know talked about this before, the nightshade that why is it still there 15 years on?
Yeah.
So on my Instagram, and I love hate. We all love hate Instagram, don't we? But Art Pop,
we do.
Tricia Guild, Designer Guild's new autumn-winter collection. Now, I am a huge Designer Guild fan. And I'm definitely Jekyll and Hyde when it comes to anything, interiors, dress code, anything. I think I could live a double life of wearing really corporate Reese clothing. And yet none of that clothing works going out into a garden. And I'm very the same when it comes to interiors. I could do the whole linen, beautiful slubby stripes, all tweed, all lovely, but all beigey tones. But equally, throw me a bit of Tricia Guild and I just love it because it just reminds me of being on holiday. It's so vibrant. And I remember when I was doing textiles, I just loved her collection. So she's brought out a new collection. It's Autumn-Winter 2024. And it's inspired by Tricia Guild's lifelong passion for ceramics and pottery. So I was like, this is so on point.
Do you know what? You can't see me, listeners, but I am literally sitting on my hands to not pick up my phone and just thought, I'll just have a quick look.
It is really nice. So I think it's got a really nice mix of linens. So if you get a chance, go and have a look. But she's saying that it's taking all the inspiration from porcelain, slips, glazes, and it's infused with the artistic creativity of the world of ceramics, from the simplest forms to elaborate, from the elegant, neutral glazes, the vividly detailed. And it's really funny because it's got me really excited to think about my Roman blinds in this attic. And there's a lovely print called Margarita, sepia in linen. And it's this lovely sort of washed floral image. Obviously keeping on point florals. I know. You can't. But also she's got this lovely wallpaper, which has got them in ceramic bottles. What I would say is, I personally don't think it's a bit of a different Tricia Guild to what I'm used to following her with. So it's quite interesting. And obviously this line, because it's the linen one, is a little bit more muted. But it's got me all excited for designing the attic, which I think we've spoke about me designing the attic. But actually, I have to go through this process of designing it in multiple different ways. And do I want to see it? Do I want to see it in just linen with ticking stripe, very muted, very that? Or do I want to see it with a bit of florals and chintz? And which way am I going to go? I think we almost could do a poll on which way will Becca go.
Yeah.
It's really pretty.
Gosh.
And also, I love the heavy appliqued cushions. I really like that tapestry vibe as well. I really like that. I really like that. So I feel like this is the only problem as well, is that I definitely think I would be designing this attic for autumn, winter, not necessarily spring, summer.
Yes. Yeah. I find the light particularly, you can really decorate for a particular light. And then I don't know about you, but the light changes here so much because of the orientation of the cottage and how small the windows are. So some times in the day and sometimes in the year, light floods in and then you don't see it.
I think you and I have got very
so
similar houses, actually, because I've not got huge windows. We're south facing. But in the summer, where you would expect it to be really, really bright, we've got a lot of tree cover, heavy tree cover. And also I grow roses all the way up over every window so you can barely see out. Whereas in the winter, it goes very light.
Oh my God.
I know the quilts. Also, heads up, really, really, really good end of line sales for Tricia Guild as well.
I'll put my phone down.
Put your phone down and concentrate. Be in the moment. Really, really good end of season sales. Yeah, my inn has been literally binge researching fabrics. Yeah, I'm massively window dressing. I'm not entirely sure I'm in the position to spend £95 a metre on a roll of fabric. However, I have got small attic windows which I will have Roman blinds on. And if anybody, just as a top tip for anybody that is looking at doing new curtains are really expensive because you either have floor to lengths and if you've got big windows, but you know what? You could have an incredible Roman blind at £95 a metre and then dress the outside of the window with something much more financially sensible, like really good linen and stuff like that. And if you've got a Roman blind, you can actually dress the outside of your window with a pole with unlined linen. So you can make it really, you could have that really expensive. Yeah, you can have that really expensive fabric, but in a very smaller way. Becca's top tip of interiors.
Suddenly thinking, I don't think I've got a single curtain in my entire house.
I love curtain. You know me, I love fabric.
Yeah, I mean, I love fabrics, but I have lots of hand-dyed fabric draped in lots of places. So including my window coverings are generally a steel bar across the top of a window and just a bit of draped fabric.
But that's great, isn't it? The only thing I really don't like, I'm not really very keen on black windows, certainly black windows in winter. I feel really uncomfortable. Because I've Oh,
sorry. Yeah, you mean it's dark outside?
No, sorry. No.
I don't mean windows. It's like, why would you have black windows?
No, but I know friends that don't have any window dressings at all. And I always think, oh, yeah, it's great. And I get it. But then I'm like, oh, no, what if somebody could see in? What if somebody's in the woods and can look at
dreadful.
me? Oh, can't bear it. Oh, God. Read too many crime novels.
The front of the cottage is along a quite mainish road, and lots of people walk their dogs up and down. It's the village is ribbon shaped, and I will confess that our front window has shutters and no curtains, and you have to shut the shutters if you want to close the light off from the front. Of course, I've always got lots of little bottles of things and flowers on the windowsill, so I do very often rely on a really big installation of flowers to ensure our privacy of an evening rather than bothering to shut the shutters on a summer's night.
I think if you've got deep windowsills, that's brilliant.
Yes, I've just put a huge big jar of Dorcas carota on there and hoping for the best.
Well, I'm banned from bringing that in lately because the seed heads all just drop all in the fruit bowl that's underneath it.
I cut off all the seed heads that were super ready and I put them in a big enamel tray in the line of seeds to be processed. Hopefully, you're right, it'll probably do exactly the same thing. It sheds like cow parsley as well when it's not ready, but yeah. I have to say, I feel like we're very much of a one mind when it comes to our inns, because I was just going to come on and say, I had the chimney sweep today.
I did that at the beginning of the season. Yeah, I know, that's so funny, isn't it? How hilarious are we? We're like old housewives.
Yeah, I know, but if we're sharing top tips, what I would say is buy your winter's woods and get your chimney swept in August, because everybody, it's like trying to get your lawnmower serviced in March. You can't do it for love nor money, or to getting your barber re-waxed in October. You want to be out of kilter with everybody else. So yes, I will confess it was because our house insurance rang us up and said, you have had your chimney swept, haven't you? And I said,
especially your thatched house.
Oh, yes, absolutely. So bless him, a little chap came along and so I feel like definitely...
You're getting tick boxing.
We are in August. It's ridiculous, but I do feel like we're just gently transitioning. Like you, we have lots of lime trees at the front and they come under the door, so the boot room just fills up with leaves.
It is happening, isn't it? I had my chimney swept at the beginning of the season. I'm so good. Beginning of the season. Do you know what? I'm really proud of myself. It's very unusual for me. I have to say, actually, I have to thank my mum for doing it, because my mum is the one that organises the chimney sweep. He goes to her and then trots down the road to me. So she's the Mrs. Organised one. And I think she also said to me, wood prices are going up. You need to order your wood before they go up. And I think they were going up in April. So I ordered loads of wood just before they went up in April. So I feel quite smug.
Does your mum sort you out a window cleaner?
No, the window cleaner's no, the window cleaner refuses to come to me. That's a bone of contention, actually. He came once, but cast your mind back to when you walked into my house and how far it is from the road from where they park to do it.
Yes. It's not a man with a bucket of hot soapy water anymore, is it? It's a big kit.
They have the kit. I have all the excuses under the sun. I couldn't park and all that sort of stuff. So it was a bit unfortunate, unfortunately. I have to do it myself.
Well, as in cleaning the outside
and the inside.
How do you do? Can you get your arm out to clean the outside of your upstairs windows? Because
so we have got sash windows, so we're quite lucky. Our sash windows we're able to clean them.
Okay, I've got casement windows. Yeah, I've got insanely long arms. I have like go-go gadget arms. So if I can't get my arm out to clean, obviously I can clean one half of it, but I can't do the opening half. But that is the other thing about now. The reason I say it is because I have just cleaned all of my windows, because there's a moment in the season, just thinking about light and how it comes in. It's the same day, both in spring and autumn, as the things change, where I suddenly think, oh my goodness, I need to pluck my eyebrows, and oh my goodness, I need to wash my windows. So
that's hilarious.
When that light is just so completely...
the half light across your monobrow. I love it. That is hilarious. That is hilarious.
I don't have a monobrow. It's just underneath.
Just for everybody,
I have very well behaved.
Just
eyebrows,
for everybody
actually.
that's listening to this, I can see Grace and she has a monobrow. I'm just going to start a huge rumour.
You can do, but honestly,
she doesn't.
I couldn't grow a monobrow if I
doesn't.
tried. I pluck my eyebrows twice a year on that day when I just,
I love it.
I plucked them too much in the 90s, and now they're just like, we give up. So they don't grow any more than they. Anyway, how have we got to this?
I think we are definitely of that generation. We did literally overpluck our eyebrows, so they are never ever going to grow back to anything substantial ever. No. And I'm sure, I bet you there's loads of people listening to this now going, yes, me too, because it's definitely a thing. It was a thing anyway. Tell me then, what have you been doing out?
What I've been doing out, I feel like we're on the cusp of lots of seasons at the moment. And what I've been doing is not doing, which is I'm not yet clearing lots of things. So I don't know about you, but I get to the stage of the year where I'm really ready for next year's plantings and next year's sowings and next year's everything. And I want to just scoop up the season, put it on the compost heap and start again. And I'm having to really work quite hard to not, because I've still got lots of flowers that are going. And actually, I've got a wedding very late this year. So I'm just letting some stuff sit there, all the grasses and things like that. But also, obviously, I'm seed saving like mad at the moment, which is wonderful. But I'm feeling the wanting to turn over the new leaf and really start planning next season.
Yeah.
So I'm just trying to be at the moment and be very light touch, and to respect that lots of my plants will form habitats for the winter. And
now you're making me feel really guilty, because I'm going to tell you that because literally, if you could literally read what my out is, I'm like, now this is cringing, because everything you're saying you're not doing, That is my ouch. This is not well planned. It's like yin and yang. It's like literally.
All your beetles can come to me. That's quite funny. Go on, what have you been doing? You've been doing it all, have you?
Flags. Yes. So basically, I will say, this is a new bit of land that I've taken on, and it had nothing really in it other than weeds. Actually, but obviously weeds are good as well, and it's a great habitat for things that are nesting. Yeah. But I just wanted to clear one row so that I could put in some new perennials that I've ordered that will be coming next week. I think they're coming, or dispatched next week.
Oh, lovely. What have you ordered?
I wanted to order things that I knew are flowering shrubs, flowering perennial stock, basically.
Don't tell me you've got more spirea. Don't tell me.
No, I've not got any more spirea. I've got enough of that. It's actually perennials. So it's things like campanula. It was...
Oh,
sorry. It was... I've done a bit of both, but this one, is the perennial first, and then I've got some more shrubs coming. But the perennials are flowering perennials that I've got this row for. And they are things like the campanula. I want to put tanacetum in there. I've got phlox going in there. I actually got a whole load of asparagus as well, because I really like asparagus foliage and achillea. And if I take you back to the agriframes planter, all that scabious and achillea will be coming out, and that will be going in there as well.
Have you saved me some seed?
I need to do that. It is on my list. It is on my list. No. I'm letting it go to seed, so it is there. So note to yourself, must remember. So I'm wanting to get one clear, and then I will do flowering shrubs, things like hebes. But I bought, what did I buy? And two abelias. I bought 2 new abelias.
Oh, you inspired me all those years ago to buy abelias. I'd never seen them until I came down to Nancaro, and you did such beautiful things that now I've got loads of them.
Yeah,
and I
they're
love
real.
Them. They're so lovely.
Abelia grandiflora. And they're just so good because, to be honest with you, they're just good at all seasons. You know, at the beginning of the year and the end of the year, they're brilliant.
Yeah.
So I've actually put them as a bit of windbreak as well. I was
dickering about cuttings for my abelia. Do you think cuttings
Well, they're very woody, so I imagine they would. And they aren't hugely expensive, so it makes me think they're not difficult, because the reason things like astrantia are so expensive is because they take so long to mature. So that quite often a plant is expensive because Daphne being one great example. Daphnes are really expensive.
Yes, yeah.
So I would say they would be worth a go, definitely. And I wonder whether it would be now the time that you take cuttings, really.
I didn't say it for my out, but I could have done is I have a josterberry, which is, now let me get this right, it's a blackcurrant gooseberry cross,
oh, yes.
I think. And I thought I was going to train next to a bit of a fence, which is where the path comes through the kitchen garden. And it's an unexpectedly beefy thing. And so it did that thing that every time it rained, it just painted you with rainwater every time we walked past. And there's a bay topiary on the other side, which basically means it's like walking through a car wash whenever it got really wet. So I thought, it's got to go. It's got to be moved. So obviously it's a huge plant. Rather than digging up and trying to move it anywhere else, I took about 30 cuttings this morning, and they're all just in the kitchen. They're softwood cuttings, so I took it where the growth was still relatively fresh. They're all in jam jars and water in the kitchen at the moment. I'm going to give them any of those currants and fruits and stuff like that. They root really quickly anyway.
Yeah.
So yeah, so
I didn't know that.
So she says optimistically. Ask me again next week, and I'll use it for my out that I
that's brilliant though. I do think now you really do start looking at your cuttings, because I think it is a really good time, and also like you said, seed saving and stuff like that. But you have reminded me, I get really panicked that I need it all tidied away for winter. Like I don't know what it is. It's like it's a bit like making a bed. I can't leave the house without making the bed and having it all tidy. But actually, also, I am reminded that when I had to turn over a really, really weeded, heavily it was an awful plot of land. It was covered in brambles and everything you could ever think of. And now, a year on, it is a field flowering every angle. Yeah. And I think the danger is, and I have to remind myself this as like my own therapy, don't panic. If you leave that bed go for the winter, if you don't need it, just leave it go. Or just put some mulch on it.
Don't disturb the soil. Don't leave it bare.
I know. And the temptation is unbelievable. It's you literally have to sit on your hands, and it feels very unnatural to me.
Such a cultural thing. Such a cultural thing. Yeah.
It feels really, really unnatural to me. It really does. So I am struggling a little bit with my head and my heart and my knowing what to do. But I think I'm just going to try, as you said, just leave it go. Don't worry about it. Go and pour a glass of red wine and sit down and light the fire and flick through Tricia Guild's website instead.
Does that neatly bring us onto our
my out? I feel like I literally do not. It is really red wine. I feel like I haven't really got an out, but the only thing I can tell you I have been out to do, and it was this morning before this recording of this podcast, I'd raced out with Mother and we went to a nice wine shop and just got some winter wine and autumn wine in. I do buying it from an independent wine shop. I do like that. I do getting a little bit of advice. I like chatting about it. My husband's a New Zealander.
Link in the show notes. Are you gonna recommend?
Oh, maybe I should put my wines that I've chosen in the show notes. Huh?
Maybe you should.
Fun.
Maybe
shall I do that? I'll do that. Okay, I'll do that.
Yeah. We could do a podcast wine tasting.
Oh my goodness!
Do a little live about.
Oh yeah, but I'd be absolutely squiffy after a glass. It'd be hopeless. Absolutely hopeless. God knows what I'd say. It probably wouldn't be able to be on podcast.
You'd have to sip and spit probably, otherwise we'd be in trouble.
But my husband is a Kiwi, so wine is really he loves his wine. I went back and got some wine there because I've had a really nice Pinot Gris from Alan Scott, which is at £13.50, I think, very reasonable for what you got, and really, really nice. So I will. I'll put my red and my white suggestions in the show notes.
I'm just going to say, for those of us who are feeling a bit left out by the wine conversations, I just can't drink anymore. I reached a stage where I've never been, since I was a teenage young farmer, when I wasn't much of a drinker, but I haven't really. I like the odd drink. But yeah, I reached a certain age, I couldn't drink coffee and I couldn't drink alcohol. And that's been that
I think
now.
It does happen.
I still think about red wine fondly. Then I pour it into a glass and I realise I don't want to have anything to do with it. So,
I think I was at a time when I could have a gin and tonic and then a glass of wine. And I realise now that's a very bad combination and one just needs. And actually, I think you're right. I definitely feel for you because it is, I can only have a glass. But if I'm going to have a glass, then I'm going to have a really nice glass. That's my decision.
Do you know what? Maybe, yeah. And I think maybe I could probably have 2/3 of a glass and feel okay. And yes, in which case you absolutely do need to make sure it's good wine. In which case I shall link in the show notes my favourite red wine, which is the Hedonist from Waitrose. It's a biodynamic wine and it's the only wine I can drink.
Well, red wine has got the sulfates in it, which makes me nasally. So I have to be really careful because I can get quite sinusy with them. And that's the thing. That's a real thing. So biodynamic, organic, a lot of people say they are better for you. Nothing's obviously, no alcohol is good for you, I should say. But
No. I used to be like I'd sit there with a glass and I'd feel the hangover coming whilst I was drinking it, which was
it's no fun. No fun.
But anyway.
So maybe we should do our favourite non-alcoholic drinks as well. Maybe that's the other thing too.
Maybe we should.
See whether people like that.
My favourite
cup of tea.
My favourite tea, if you like.
Yeah.
Oh no, you're really picky about your tea. Very tea. That'd be the shortest interview ever.
Very picky about my tea. Very picky about my tea. Yeah.
So I'm going to be unapologetic, and actually I'm just going to go headlong into autumn. And my out was that I finally had the opportunity to get my new gifted, very grateful Cabbages and Roses tweed cape out. And I will film an unboxing and share that with everybody. Yes, so I went out to lunch at a lovely little cafe in town, Shoreditch White, which does amazing, beautiful. I'm not sure if it is a bakery, but they do really good baked goods and lovely coffee and things like that for those of us who can drink coffee. But it was just really lovely. I'm transitioning into autumn wardrobe. Very much so. I'm looking for any opportunity to go out and about. I've got a tweed gilet, which I can now go dog walking in without roasting. So yes, any opportunity to go out for lunch. I've just booked brunch for next week, and have I got another lunch somewhere next week as well? And we've got the party. We've got the family party.
Oh yes, in the orchard.
Last week's podcast. We've got that on Saturdays. I'm doing that thing that anyone does before a big event of just literally refreshing the weather.
But it's looking good. I think it's looking quite good.
It's looking good after 1 o'clock. So it's going to be fine for the party, but it does mean that the window between 1 o'clock and 2, which is when things start happening, I'm going to be doing shuttle runs from the kitchen to the orchard, trying to get everything laid out and looking all beautiful once the rain has gone. Yes, I'm about to go and do I've done a click and collect, so I'm going to go and collect that now for all the cooking and things like that. We've harvested, I think, about 8 kilos of plums. There's going to be more plum crumble than anyone knows.
Did you see my picture of the Victoria plums that I put on Instagram? I saw everyone like that.
I did. I'll take a picture of what I've got and I'll send it to you, and I'm sure you'll be very envious of the plum haul.
I think I was going to say, I think I've bought the last lot I can buy from our greengrocer. I think that's pretty much it. Yeah, I do. I think that's it. Of the Victorias.
Actually, I harvested, I had the recipe, the nitroslator plum recipe, and I think it said something like 800 grams of plums. So I harvested 1 kilo and I thought, oh, that'll do. So I thought I'll put those in the freezer and then they're done, and then I can just put the crumble topping on. That'll take 10 minutes. And then, of course, there wasn't really room in the freezer. So I thought I'll just put them back in the fridge until I've got something else out of the freezer and I can fit them in. And over the last 3 days, we've eaten 1 kilo's worth of stewed plums, because they go on porridge for breakfast, they go with yoghurt for lunch, they go with a little bit of cream for pudding. Yeah. Like, they're just, beautiful. So I'm half person, half plum, I think, by this stage.
Bless you. That's not a bad way to be.
So I took the opportunity to go and, it's not, is it? To prune my plum trees. If you have stone fruit trees and you haven't pruned them this year, the window is closing because they need to be summer pruned. So I did nip out and but I was cutting branches off that were just covered in plums. So I've now got baskets and baskets and baskets, bowls and bowls and bowls. My whole kitchen has been.
That would look amazing installation, wouldn't it? If you were to cut. We need to come to you for wedding stuff. Yeah. Can you imagine turning up?
Well, I've got actually, for an installation, even better would be, I've got a crabapple tree that it's always been a bit rubbish on the old fruiting, but this year it's done that amazing thing that I've just got arched boughs, heavy with the most perfect. They're quite long. I think it's a John Downey.
Yeah, be careful. Mine are really, really red. It's always done really well. But what I would say to you is I'm really bad at pruning my crabapple, and I let it go and I split because of how heavy the fruit was. We did lose a few last year. We had all those winds, didn't we, last year as well, which I keep looking at storms that potentially coming in this weekend. But
oh God! Oh, don't!
I think it's tonight. But actually, I don't think it's bad. I think it's missing us now.
We had it last night. We absolutely had it last night. Oh no, you're right.
I think 3 o'clock. 3 o'clock. Yeah, this morning. I think it's missing us. Randomly, our weather's changed. But that crabapple in our garden, I don't know why I'm pointing to you looking out the window because I know you can't see it, nor can my listeners. But it's really odd shaped because I lost a whole load we had to take down. And we used them for a wedding last year, and it was just a win for the bride. Loss for me, win for the bride.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, just huge.
Absolutely fabulous.
Yeah, so my Victoria splits a lot and I feel dreadful. We thin our apples, but we never thin the plums. And they just get so heavy, just the branches just snap off and they've just got this whole branch of plums. But not this year because every branch that's left on is now stripped.
Can you do me a favour? I'm saying this now because I think all of us, we all want to see a picture of it, please, so that I can put it on the Stuart Alexander podcast Instagram. I will go and on that note, Becca will go and do it. I don't know
how I'll edit that out, but I will edit out that.
Becca's going to go and do her crab apples, which is not nearly as hilarious as Grace's plums. Listen, you need to get to your meeting. It's been lovely catching up with you.
Actually, embarrassingly, it's not a meeting. I have to tell you what it is. I've been trying really hard with YouTube and really struggling. And my solution to almost everything is either go on a course or buy another piece of kit. So actually what I have to go and do is collect a new camera.
I love it. Just throw some money at it. Yeah.
Just throw some money at it. Ask me next week how my vlogging career is going and I will try and do some homework and make sure I've videoed. Maybe the plums. Maybe I'll, oh gosh, that sounds terribly smutty. Do a plum movie. Yeah. So anyway, I do need to go and collect.
You need to come and collect your camera. Well, listen, it's lovely catching up with you. All right. Listen, lovely to chat to you and I will speak to you next week.
You too.
Take care.
All right. Lots of love.
Bye.
Bye.